55% of executives now regret replacing workers with AI. Not the companies that failed at AI, the ones that succeeded at it, that deployed it, cut staff, celebrated the savings, and then watched what happened next. Gartner predicts that by 2027, half of the companies that cut customer service staff and attributed it to AI will rehire people for the same roles. Same work, different job title, often lower pay. It's happening right now at some of the most famous AI success stories of the last 2 years. And the mechanism tells you how AI actually works in practice, as opposed to in a press release. Here's what you need to know before you get to the end of this video. The companies that avoided this cycle entirely didn't use less AI, they used it differently. We'll get there. This is the frontier economy. Let's look at what the data actually shows. Start with Klarna, the clearest case, and the one business schools now use as a cautionary example. In 2024, Klarna deployed an AI assistant built on OpenAI's technology. CEO Sebastian Siemiatkowski announced it was doing the work of 700 customer service agents. Headcount dropped from 5,500 to 3,400. The company celebrated $10 million in annual savings. Wall Street applauded. Then the second column of the ledger opened. Customer satisfaction scores fell sharply. Complex queries, disputes, fraud, financial distress bounce between AI systems and frustrated customers. Within 6 months, Siemiatkowski publicly acknowledged the company had gone too far. Our strategy was too heavily skewed toward cost-cutting, he said. Klarna began rehiring human agents. And Klarna is not an outlier. A third of hiring managers who cut a role for AI have already rehired for it. 2/3 of companies that made AI-driven layoffs have begun bringing people back. Here's the part that deserves more attention than it gets. The companies most aggressively cutting staff in the name of AI weren't necessarily the ones getting the best results from AI. They were the ones getting the best stock performance from the announcement. Block CEO Jack Dorsey sent shareholders a letter in February 2026 announcing 4,000 layoffs, nearly half the company's workforce. His intelligence tools, he wrote, had reached sufficient maturity to make those people unnecessary. Block stock surged 24% in after-hours trading. That's the incentive structure in plain view. The announcement of AI-driven cuts gets rewarded before anyone can check whether the cuts actually worked. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, the company whose technology powered Klarna's chatbot, has publicly called this practice out. There's some AI washing where people are blaming AI for layoffs that they would otherwise do, he said at the India AI Impact Summit. When the person whose company built the tool is telling you the narrative is being abused, that's worth noting. A survey of 1,000 US hiring managers put numbers to it. Nearly 6 in 10 admitted they emphasize AI as the reason for layoffs and hiring freezes because it plays better with stakeholders than citing budget constraints, revenue uncertainty, or the need to unwind pandemic-era overhiring. The AI didn't take more jobs than it would have otherwise. The narrative just became more convenient. A separate Gartner survey of 350 large organizations found no meaningful relationship between larger workforce reductions and stronger financial performance. Companies that cut more, citing AI, didn't perform better than companies that cut less. The cuts were justified by a story. The story didn't hold up. Klarna, Ford, CBA, and IBM aren't random cases. They share a specific failure mode, one that's worth understanding precisely because it tells you which jobs are actually at risk and which ones aren't. Every reversal in this dataset happened at the same point in the same sequence. When AI encountered a task that required judgment, empathy, or contextual reasoning that didn't fit a predetermined script. Klarna's AI handled simple queries well. It failed on financial disputes, where a customer was distressed and the resolution required reading the situation, not just the data. Ford's reversal happened in a factory, not a call center. The automaker had replaced experienced quality engineers with automation. Quality recalls surged. The automated systems handled standard production competently. They failed on quality diagnosis, the kind of problem where an experienced engineer looks at a symptom and recognizes a root cause that isn't in the training data. Ford has since rehired hundreds of veteran engineers to catch what the systems couldn't. Commonwealth Bank of Australia laid off 40 customer service employees after deploying an AI voice bot. Customer call volumes increased. The bot couldn't handle the load. The bank reversed the redundancies within 3 months. Their own spokesperson said the original assessment did not adequately consider all relevant business considerations. IBM is the subtlest case, and in some ways, the most instructive. The company's Ask HR system now handles 94% of routine HR queries without human involvement. That's a genuine success. But the remaining 6%, ethics cases, edge cases, situations that don't fit a script, still require a person. More importantly, IBM's Chief Human Resources Officer, Nicole Lemereau, identified a longer-term problem. If we don't continue to invest in entry-level hires, what happens in 3 to 5 years? There's no pipeline. The well simply dries up. IBM now plans to triple entry-level hiring across its US business in 2026. This is the same distinction from earlier in this channel's episodes. The gap between tasks that can be automated and tasks that require augmentation. AI replaces the routine layer. It exposes and actually increases the value of the judgment layer. The Keith Spencer observation from FlexJobs is precise. Companies created an empathy gap by removing employees capable of handling complex situations. The problem wasn't that AI wasn't good enough. The problem was that companies cut the people who understood which situations AI couldn't handle, and then had no one left to catch the failures. The reversals get the attention, but the more useful question is, which companies avoided this cycle entirely, and what did they do instead? IKEA is the clearest contrast. When its AI chatbot began handling nearly half of all customer inquiries, IKEA didn't cut the 8,500 call center workers whose routine work the bot absorbed. It retrained them as remote interior design advisors, a function AI couldn't credibly perform, and one where human judgment is actually the product. The same people doing different work now generate over €1 billion a year in revenue that didn't exist before. JP Morgan used AI to automate document review in its legal and compliance functions. Rather than cutting the lawyers and compliance officers who had done that review, it redeployed them to higher complexity work that the automation surfaced. Strategic analysis, exception handling, escalation judgment. The human role shifted, it didn't disappear. The pattern across the companies that avoided the boomerang, they automated tasks, not roles. They identified the routine layer of what their people did, automated that specifically, and then pointed the same people at the judgment layer that automation exposed. Gartner's framing is precise. By 2027, even the companies reversing their AI layoffs will rehire under different job titles. Not customer service agent, AI oversight coordinator. Not quality inspector, systems integrity engineer. The work is evolving. The companies that avoided the cycle got ahead of that evolution before they cut anyone. The companies caught in the boomerang are being forced to do that same work after the fact, expensively, with damaged trust, and often at wages 30% higher than they paid the first time around. The financial cost of the boomerang is real. Severance paid, recruitment fees spent again, institutional knowledge lost in the gap, customer satisfaction scores depressed during the period of reduced service, and, in several cases, public acknowledgement that the original decision was a mistake. Simiakowski said it directly. CBA's spokesperson said it directly. IBM's Lamoureux said it in different terms, but said it. The honest read on where we are. AI is genuinely replacing some work, permanently. It is not replacing judgment. And the companies discovering that lesson expensively in 2025 and 2026 are funding the tuition for everyone paying attention now. That's the frontier. Back to your inbox.